So coming off that win, we've got Corey Small from the Bandits joining us. Corey, I want to start at the end of that game because Josh Byrne does that little okey doke move, dives across, puts you up by 1, and it looks like you guys really finished. What was the message along the bench down the stretch of that game for you guys to really finish strong against San Diego and not look back?
It was obviously a really back and forth game all game long, but our coaches kind of focused more turning it into a shorter game when we started coming close to the end of the game there. We were tied 10-10, and I think there was 3 minutes left. So the message from our coaching staff was just win this last 3 minutes. And fortunately for us, we had some guys step up in that situation, and Matt Vince, as always, was solid for us in the back.
Yeah, it must be nice to have that guy, a guy who's won 7 Goaltender of the Year awards at the back end, just in case anything goes wrong.
Yeah, he's our lifeline back there. Watch the game at all. That last 2 minutes or so, we must have stopped about 6 or 7 shots right on the doorstep, and having him in net is almost like a cheat code at times. But he was great for us again, and he doesn't seem to be slowing down. So hopefully we can have another solid year to him.
So your offense this year, while you return pieces like yourself and Dane Smith and Josh Byrne, who are obviously big, it does look a little different. Most notably, you lose Sean Evans in the expansion draft. What's the feel, and how is it different from last year to this year offensively for you guys?
Obviously losing Sean's a big loss, and he produced a lot of goals and points, and he's a guy that can control the offense and create a lot. But looking this year, it's going to be a little bit more of a shared responsibility, both left side and right side, for guys to kind of produce it and be able to play and make plays. And obviously, you saw the game, and Chris Kluche stepped up huge for us. And he's a guy that we're looking to kind of fill that gap. And he's definitely more than capable to do so. He had an amazing preseason. And then obviously that translated over to a great opening night for him, and we expect kind of big things from him as well.
You already mentioned the coaching staff, and it's John Tavares that's on there on the bench. You are an Ontario guy. He is obviously an Ontario legend. What's it like to play for John Tavares?
It's incredible. I think the first time I met him, I was a little bit starstruck because growing up, he was my favorite player. Obviously, growing up in St. Catharines, Buffalo Bandits games were where we went to watch lacrosse, and he was phenomenal back then. So he was a guy that I always looked up to and emulated, and he was one of the best shooters there was in the game ever was, and he's a guy I really looked to kind of learn some skills and kind of try to emulate the things he was doing on the floor. And now having him as a coach, it's pretty surreal. And the way he thinks the game and some of the plays he draws up for us on power plays, as well as 5-on-5 and 6-on-5. A lot of stuff I've never seen before, even playing in this league for 11 years.
You mentioned your career, and until last year, you hadn't played for a different franchise. You went through a couple of different moves out there, from Edmonton to then Vancouver, but you play with Buffalo. What's it like this second year with the Bandits, trying to gel with this offense compared to when you first jumped over?
Obviously last year was a bit of a transition for me. I carried a lot of the scoring load in Vancouver, where, coming into Buffalo with guys like Dane Smith and when Sean was there, and obviously Josh Byrne, I maybe wasn't relied upon as much to carry as much of the scoring load. We pride ourselves on being an unpredictable offense, and that's something that Coach Tavares says to us every week is, we're going to be most successful when we have a lot of guys contributing each night. That's been the big difference. I think with this team, pretty much someone could go off at any given game for 5, but we're going to be our best when we have multiple guys chipping in 2 or 3 goals a game. And coming into my second year, I'm just loving playing in Buffalo. Obviously, being a fan of Buffalo growing up and living so close to Buffalo now, that obviously the travel is a lot easier. My family's coming to every game. It's a real cool experience, and it's something I haven't experienced being an Eastern player growing up and playing most of my career out west. So it's been an awesome experience in Buffalo so far.
So we were talking about it just a little bit before we were going on here. This is a unique time of the NLL season where everybody's playing a game or two, and then everybody's got a bunch of bye weeks built in with the holidays and everything. How do you guys capitalize on a little bit of momentum that you built off of winning that first game as you have a couple of weeks off here?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, we were all fired up for the home opener and to get out and actually, have the success we did and play a tight game and squeak it out in the last 3 minutes. It's tough to kind of carry the momentum forward. We got 3 weeks off with the Christmas break coming, but fortunately for us, being all mostly Southern Ontario players, we're gonna be able to get together for a couple practices over our bye weeks, and usually our practices are pretty hard, and so it'll be a good opportunity, guys, to keep the stick in their hand and stay in shape, and not enjoy Christmas too much with overeating and a little too much celebration. But we'll be having a lot of hard practices, and I know our coaches will do a great job with scouting and film breakdown for us, and we'll just look to prepare for our next game on the 28th.
Well, and anytime you have to try to score against Matt Vince in practice, life is really difficult, right?
Yeah, he can be frustrating at times. He's one of those guys. He's kind of, I know when I shoot him, he's always doing something tricky to me to kind of throw me off. So it always ends up being a fun practice when you got to go against him. And obviously with him and how talented he is in that, it's always making us better as shooters.
Yeah, well, you guys looked good in your opener. Congrats on the win. And Corey, we'll catch up again at some point down the road. Good luck the rest of the season.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for having me, Travis.